Welcome to the One Hand at a Time podcast. I'm your host, Chris Welton, and this is not a pre-recorded episode. I know it sounds like the same intro over and over again, but this is another individual I'm at a mastermind I'm part of. See, I get in the masterminds and I do the work. I don't just sit back and take notes. I try to build relationships and connect. And if you follow me or listen to me on my podcast, you know that most of my guests come from either One Jordan or they come from a mastermind or a group coaching program or something that I'm in. So I want to welcome my mortgage brother here to the call today, Mikey out of Detroit, Michigan. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, brother. I appreciate you having me on and taking the time. It's always a pleasure being able to chop it up with you, man.
Yeah, definitely. I think we hit it off right away the first time we met down in Miami. And, when you're in a room with like 40 people, and I think I knew 3 people over there. Besides Renee and Maddie, of course, everybody else I just hadn't met before. So it's like, it's your job to go meet people, man. You're in a room to meet people and connect. And I never understand why people just they're standing over there or they're in the buffet line, they're looking down. I'm like, bro, we paid a lot of money to be here. Let's at least meet each other, see if we even like each other, right? So you and I chopped up a little bit the first time, and then again in Scottsdale, I don't know, like a month or so ago, and we just hit it off. So we had to make this happen, man. We had to make this podcast happen, right?
Absolutely, man. And you're right. I think a lot of people do get shy, right, or whatever things, and I get it. Everybody's different, but I think it made it easy for me to. I mean, one, you're very easy to talk to, but the other thing is that I think on the first time we met at the mastermind, you were gifting Renee the his custom pair of Jordans, and yeah. I'm like, man, this is my kind of guy, right? So it showed me that not only are you a cool guy, but you're a thoughtful person, right? It was a very special gift. Like Renee started blushing. I don't know if you were looking at him. I have it on video. I'll send it to you.
Please do.
From a different angle than you have. So yeah, man, it was being able to maximize that time. There's such incredible people in those rooms. And I think sometimes it takes guys like you and us that maybe have to go and start engaging those conversations.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, I mean, let's jump right in with what do you feel the state of the industry is, man? I had a front row seat back in the Great Meltdown, and this is not that by any means, but it's I think it feels harder. It looks harder than it really is because it was so easy the 2 years before it. It was like I was playing Little League baseball, and it was real easy, or T-ball, and then I had to go play coach pitch, and then it's like, man, this is really hard. It's not really that hard, but you got to work for it. So how do you feel about everything that's going on right now?
I'm empathetic to a lot of people that are having a tough time, but I do feel like I'm working harder than 2020 and 2021, right? That was pick up your phone. And but in all reality, I think it was a much needed cleanse of the industry. I think we'll start to lose some more people, but I'm not just being overly optimistic. I'm just of the mindset that there's always opportunities where you look at them, and sometimes we have to reassess the market and say, okay, well, this year, it's probably CoreLogic's coming out saying probably 30 to 40% of buyers will be investors. A lot of first-time home buyers. I think people just, if they understand the audience better and know kind of where to put their marketing activities, it just becomes a little bit easier. Hard work, especially at the level that you do things at, I do things at. I mean, we're not scared of hard work, right? So that part is just like, all right, whatever, we'll handle it. But I think sometimes, I think more than anything, bro, and you know this because you coach around this, but it's the mindset. I'm seeing across the country just this rates, market, inventory, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, all those things are there, but we can't change them. So let's focus on the things we can.
Yeah, there's a saying that one of my mentors years ago taught me, and he said, if your thinking is stinking, so's your business. And there's nothing more true to that, I think, in this market, because, I exited the mortgage industry August of last year to go full in with my coaching and speaking business. And then, I don't know, did a little best-selling book I wrote back there on the shelf. Just kind of
One Jordan, baby.
Yeah. But, when I look at it, the people that I'm coaching at a high level, I'm very blessed to have some very high-end realtors and mortgage people both that are having some of their best years they've ever had. Right? So that tells me that if I'm consistent and I do the work and I don't listen to what everybody else has to say, I'm going to do pretty well. And one of my friends who's actually going to be at the Forward event we're going to be at in a couple weeks, I was just texting him a little while ago. I'm going to grab some break some bread with him when we're out there. He's got a big real estate team. He had 59 million last month on his team in 1 month.
Oh, wow.
59 million in 1 month, dude. So like, people are buying and selling. It's happening. The pretenders aren't getting the business because they were pretending all along, right? I think you could take you or I, drop us off anywhere in the world. If we could communicate, we could sell something and survive, right? Like, you know, my people are from Ireland. You could drop me off there. Your people are from Iraq, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could drop me off there. I'm like, I just know we could survive, right? We could sell, and I think that's the lost art of this industry right now, is that people did, like, I made a joke the other day. I said, look, if you want to buy a Rolex or a Maserati, wait 2 more months, 3 more months. I know a lot of mortgage guys that bought multiple Maseratis and Rolexes. They got to sell because they're pretenders. So how do you feel about the state of the sales aspect part of it? I mean, like, I think that's just such a lost art in our industry.
I think that's such a good question. I think there's been, over the years, there's been more and more of this like thing around sales that it's like this bad thing, right? And I remind people that, like, hey, you have children. Did you get your child to get from point A to point B? Is selling, right? So, but I think the art of selling is starting to fade away. And when I say that, I mean the amount of professionals who use sales in an ethical manner and at the same time understand that there's sequencing, there's scripting, there's a science behind all of this, not because we're trying to manipulate, but because we're trying to get the person from point A to point B based on what their goals are. And if we're the professional, selling sometimes is just really asking some very good questions to be able to navigate. And I think people have this misconception of, they hear the word sales and they think used car salesman.
Yeah.
You know, where it's the complete opposite of that.
I like to think of sales as triage. Like, if I go to the ER, what do? They check my temperature, my blood pressure. They do all these things first. My leg could be hanging wide open and they still check all these things first. It's a requirement to get us where we need to go. The scripting, the sales processes, we're doing that to help the client get to the finish line, because we know what we need to ask to make sure we were able to close those things out, right? So you're right. It does get a bad, some people feel like, oh, that was so salesy. And I feel that way sometimes. I go somewhere, I'm like, dude, you don't have to sell me. I came here to buy this couch. Like I don't need to, I really don't care where it was built or anything else. It just, the color fits, right? Like, so, and I'm so big, I destroy furniture in like 3 or 4 years anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So let's go that route. But I think it comes down to making sure we give the client the right product, right? Like asking. And I feel that the people that are doing the best right now in the mortgage space, you're right, first-time home buyers are a big deal. In our market down here in Florida, which I know you have some business in Florida as well, hometown heroes is a big deal in our market. Like, we're doing, a lot of my clients are doing a lot of that. But I think where the riches are is in the niches. Understanding a bank statement loan, understanding a foreign national loan, understanding there's other products to sell besides a Fannie Mae and a Freddie product. What's your take on that? And I'm just curious, what kind of business are you doing in those areas?
I think that's very well said. Last month this month we're finishing off. We were 35% non-QM. So the DSCRs, even no doc, right? I know people want to freak out. Oh my God, you're not verifying income. No, we're coming in with a 35% down payment. You're on the hard money side, yeah. So you get it. But I think that's so critical, understanding the bank statement loan. Even we've got a 1 year, there's unlimited products, right? 1 year, 1099 loan because maybe if we averaged out the realtor's income, I call it a realtor loan. If we averaged out the realtor's income, it wouldn't work, but it works with the 1 year 1099. So yeah, non-QM and your non-traditional financing has become more and more. I mean, 35% is a lot to carry in a database. And that's a major uptick from last year.
That is a lot. My curiosity on that is, do you look at certain parts of those? Because like from the hard money side, what we look at is, okay, we're going to put people in this loans a short-term fix. Then we're going to show them the tools necessary to get to that non-QM loan next, or we used to call it Alt-A, non-QM loan next, then get to a Fannie, Freddie, or FHA loan or whatever. Now, most of them aren't going to do the work because they're in a hard money loan because that's just who they are, but that's okay. So do you look at that as, okay, I'm going to close 35% of my business this month as non-QM. What are my potential refinances to help these people get out? Am I educating them? Am I showing them the right steps to get out of this high interest rate type of loan?
100%. And that, I mean, that goes directly tied in with the mortgage planning model, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're CMPS from way before me, so you get it. We just had one right now, DSCR. I just got off a call yesterday with the CPA, and it's a little bit crazy sometimes what people don't know, but so I was going through some of the write-offs with depreciation and amortization, letting them know that could be added back in, and obviously the client didn't have to take the tax implication. They got the benefit of the write-off, but it was all done so that when rates do drop, he's able to refi into a conventional loan. He's got the income to do it. Now, this DSCR specifically, when I compared it, I mean, because rates are where they're at, when I compared it against investment property just going conventional through Fannie, one, I was getting hit with major points up front because obviously margin compression. The other part was that I did the DSCR as an interest only. And when I ran the amortization schedule, I said, look, if you pay extra on this interest only payment because of the reamortization, you actually would end up paying it off faster than this. It was like 7.625 on a conventional with points, where I was 8.5 interest only with no points on a DSCR. So I know in a different market where rates are much lower, that doesn't make as much sense. But when rates are this high, I mean, the payment was almost neck and neck on the DSCR versus the fully amortized.
Yeah, I love that. I love interest only loans for the right client, people that understand money. I personally would never borrow over $1 million without being interest only. Just not interested in giving you $5,000 a month in principal. Like I just, like, I'm not going to do that. Like, it makes no sense to me because I know what I can do with $5,000 a month in investments compared to what they can. And I know you can too, because we have the same mind. It's like, well, I got 1,600 cash here sitting here from the casino. That's not making any interest, Mike. It's not making any interest, right? So like,
that's how we think.
We have that same idea. So I'm just curious, did you use Mortgage Coach software to calculate that and present it? Yeah, I mean,
I did. Yep. TCA side by side. And I mean, what a lifesaver, right? And it's just, and he's an investor, like you said, the right client. And it was more, I mean, he's ready to do more of them. I said, let's just one step at a time. Let's game plan this thing. There's and in all reality, now he's going to be looking at more investments in Florida than he is here in Michigan. So, but yeah, very good point.
I don't blame the guy. I mean,
I don't blame him either, man. I don't blame him either. But to your point, it is.
I've lived in both places, so trust me, I'm okay with it.
Right.
Well, for the people that don't know that mortgage, that piece, what a DSCR loan is they use the individual's credit and their reserves to qualify based off the rental income on the property. Okay, so there's some that can go a little bit negative on that, on the income, but it's usually a 1-to-1 depending on the loan to value. And I won't get all crazy into that stuff with you guys, but understanding it gives an investor an opportunity to buy multiple properties if he has the cash. Okay, so here's the key. Like, we're not doing this 100% financing. We're not doing this with no reserves. Like, there's some requirements, right? So if a guy has good credit and he's got money in the bank, he's going to pay his mortgage payment, right? Like, and that's how they structure it with these investments. So that's probably the best thing that came out as far as non-Q, in my opinion, in a long time, like probably in the last 5 years, right? And the delinquencies aren't high. Now, I know there's some spots where they were doing DSCRs and some Airbnbs, and then the Airbnb market dried up in a couple areas. But I'm 40 minutes from Mickey Mouse, right? So like that's not how it is here. Like your Airbnbs here just blow up. So the DSCR is essentially the old stated income type of loan, which is what most of my business was pre-meltdown, right? Because I dealt with a lot of business owners, a lot of physicians, and that's just how it was the best loan for them, right? It was. I mean, it was so easy. Like just
Countrywide, fast and easy. The pricing was better than it was going full doc.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I do it?
So I'm curious what your journey was like. So you were born outside the United States.
Yeah, I was born in Baghdad, small 1% Catholic minority in Baghdad.
So that's how we really hit it off, is because we're both Catholic. So that's where it all started. And it's funny, I saw a picture of Mike had like a family reunion the other day. I'm like, that looks like a bunch of my Catholics that were kicking it. You know what I mean? Like really, I would have fit right in. We had a great time. And so then you how old were you when you came to the U.S.?
I was a baby. I was 4 years old, 1990.
Yeah. So the year I graduated from high school, and so you come to the U.S. Obviously, your dad. We talked this through. Dad, your family's a hustler, working hard. I mean, just like my family did when they came over, right? They just worked and worked and worked. How did you get to the mortgage business? Like what? Like, nobody goes to high school and goes or college and one day I'm going to sell mortgages, right? Like I used to stand in these rooms and talk to big groups of mortgage people. I'd be like, all right, how many people will actually say when they're growing up they're going to be in the mortgage business? I might get one. It's because my dad was or whatever, but this is always plan B or C, right? So I'm just curious what your journey was, how you got there.
Interesting story. I was in college at Oakland University here in Michigan, and I was talking to my godfather, and I said, what are you doing? Like, you're crushing it right now. It seems like you're doing really well. So he was an AE at Equifirst at the time, 2005. So he starts telling me about the mortgage business and whatnot. And he's like, well, do you want to make like 10 grand a month? And at 18, 10 grand a month is like, 7 figures in my mind. Right. And I had already had the work ethic, man. It was, worked in the dollar stores. My dad was the kind of guy that if I was sick from school, that meant I had to go to work that day. Right. So work was something I was never scared of. So I was actually going to school full-time, 16 credits in college. And then, I went in, it was a consumer direct shop. Just cold calling more than I could ever imagine. And I'm grateful for it because it, obviously it served me well later in my career. But I had to make a decision at some point when it wasn't just 10,000 a month. Now I was making 20, 30,000 a month checks. Now I was arrogant and dumb. I'm thinking that my professors are like, oh, you're just a college professor. And I'm like, I'm making 30 grand a month. I thought I was some hotshot, very, young, dumb, and egotistical. But then I made the decision because it was overwhelming. I was driving back and forth 40 minutes from Oakland University to where my office was at. And I made the decision my sophomore year to go full-time into the mortgage business. And then there was no turning back from there, man.
Yeah, they say 4 days, 4 months, or forever is how long you'll be in the mortgage business. So I totally agree with that part. And here we are now. Like, so what year was that? I was
2005. I got in.
2005. So you got in. That's funny because that's when I got in.
Yeah,
2005. And boy, what a great time to get in.
Yes. It was.
It was
definitely
good,
interesting.
It was good because you learned different things and different strategies, and a lot of similarities as far as the easiness leading up to the meltdown.
Correct.
And then now you have so many people have exited. And the funny thing is, I was exiting no matter what. Like I had made up my mind I was going to get out like a year before I did. So the timing just happened to be the timing. Like, you know what I mean? It was what it was. And um, I made a good bet, I think, when it was time for me to move on. But so we're sitting here now. We go to these masterminds. I want to talk about investing in yourself. Okay. Go to masterminds. We're on this call with Renee, and you're going to the Forward event. Did you go last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too. Good. I mean, in my opinion, it was the best event I went to last year.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of high standards with that. Let's see what happens.
Sure. It's hard to top it.
Do you set aside a certain amount of money every month to invest in yourself, or do you just find yourself consistently doing it?
I think I find myself consistently doing it because I shouldn't say, like, I don't just throw money at anything, right? Like, if I believe in the CEO, if I believe in the person, then I I want to be around those people. I want to learn from those people. And you know as well as I do, because you do this all the time. A lot of times those people have helped you so much for free where you're like, man, I want to pay them, right? Like and for me, I tried to get out of that stage of like, there's a lot of things, right? Even on the mortgage planning side, it's like education, 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 but then there's got to be implementation. So I narrowed it down, and I think I sort of found my tribe between whether it be Neil and some of the people there, and then Renee, Amir for different things. So these guys have all become mentors to me in different aspects of my career and in my life, man. Renee changed my life around a lot.
Yeah. I mean, he totally changed my life. Like, I mean, the ability to tell my story and do like, I mean, all the things I've done have started with Renee, and then it built relationships. I had built relationships with other people along the way. So start with Renee, then Ben Newman, and now you got to meet Ben, which is great. It was so amazing.
Ben Newman,
so amazing
man.
He was there because he's my he's my coach and just my guy. He's just my guy, right? And
what a great guy he is.
But I wouldn't have been able to. I wouldn't have really been drawn in that direction if I hadn't invested that money and gone and met with Renee. If those of you listening, if you read my book, there's a great story in there about Renee, how we met, and that type of stuff. If you hadn't, go to the onejordanbook.com and pick up a copy. So when you meet somebody like a Renee, my first struggle I have is sometimes I want to be just like them. Right? That's like I just can't like I thought I was Michael Jordan. I see the picture in the back there with the like I used to wear 23. I'm not Michael Jordan, but I could be like Michael Jordan. Then I realized that Chris is who I am and who I want to be. But if I could learn a little bit from Renee, I learned a little bit from Ben. I'm learning some from Neil now. I did one Jordan Neil. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I saw it on his story. I asked you about it.
Yeah. So I've been messaging with him back and forth, so we can connect at the event. We're going to do a podcast when I go out there in a couple of weeks. And
nice.
But did you find that did you try to mirror them, or just like I just need a little bit from this? I need to learn a little bit from that. Like I'm just curious how you felt about that as you started getting into those circles with those people.
That's a really good question. No, I feel like I took a little bit from everybody, but here's why. I think you're going to agree with this because there's a reason we're in a lot of the same rooms. Like you saw how big my family was, 130 people in between my aunts, uncles, first cousins, and their kids. I've always been different, right? It doesn't have to be weird or anything. It was just, that sometimes with certain people, there's like, you just kind of always are maybe a little bit, you do things a little bit different. Like things we talked about, right? We're like, man, how great is it that we're sitting here and nobody's gossiping and like, we're not built for those circles, right? And I think that's unfortunately a lot of just kind of how people are wired. So probably you can't see the other part of that picture, but that's Jordan telling Kobe to be legendary, right? But I think it was more of really just trying to take a little bit. The challenge for me, though, is I'm so literal. like Renee had told me at Amplify, he's like, Mike, next time you tell this story, and he just meant for that moment. He said, next time you tell this story, leave this part out. For 3 years or 2 years, I would not tell that story because I was like, Renee said, don't say this. So I went up to him in the last mastermind. I'm like, bro, you told me not to say this story. He's like, Mike, I meant for that one time. I didn't mean for the rest of your life. Don't say that story, right?
Yeah.
I think that was my struggle more of like just taking everything so literal versus, but that is part of like wanting to be like them because I'm like, no, I have to do it in, the frame message tie down. Oh, I missed the tie down. But definitely those parts where you do see parts of yourself in them anyways. And I think that's what makes us resonate with those.
Yeah, it's funny because Renee will call me out of the blue and he'll go, "Hey man," I go, "What's up?" He goes, "Yeah, that video posted sucks." Oh yeah, well thanks man, I appreciate it. I thought it was a good video. Oh, your microphone, your this or that. I said, "Great, I get it." But then I'll go, I'm not trying to be like you, dude, right? Like I'm not trying to be Renee. Like it's going to be a little different than yours. But because he wants me to do big things. He's just so like, yeah. And he tells me that like we were on a Zoom call the other day working on something. I don't remember what it was. He's like, you got to do something with that logo in the back, man. Got to get that logo out of there. Logo.
I was on that call with you.
Oh, were you? Yeah, it's like that logo.
Yeah.
Shit, I got to get rid of that. So as you can tell, I haven't gotten rid of it.
Correct.
But I'm building another studio in my house right now. Actually, another room is being built out for a nicer studio with the board, the digital board, and that kind of stuff. Because I do a lot of webinars. I do a lot of webinars and stuff. It'd just be easier to do that. But then it was funny because I was on a call with Ben Newman yesterday, and he was talking about what it looks like behind being intentional with what's behind your head. And he goes, and everybody look at Chris Welton's. That's intentional. His book's there. All those Jordan shoes are there. That's intentionality doing that. His logo, all that stuff. So here's Ben telling me that's good. And Renee's telling me it's not. So I want to upgrade no matter what. It doesn't matter. I want to do some different things. And I used to have tons of sports memorabilia behind there. But when the book came out, I was like, well, I should just break out a bunch of Jordans. I just think it would look more fitting with the book. So anyways.
It looks amazing.
So what would you consider the Ford event being a big win this year for you? Like if you sat down and said, these are the things I want to learn or the people I want to meet, like I'm really diligent with that, like who I want to meet and who I want to, hang out with. Just curious, how do you do that?
Yeah. So this year I invited a couple of my realtors and I really want them to start getting entrenched into that world, right? Of being there. There's also, I'm a huge fan of Chris Do.
Yeah, I love Chris.
I just really like a lot of what he does. So there's some stuff that I wanted to pick his brain about. Daniel G. And I try to stay in my lane, right? But then I see I'm like, man, a lot of the stuff that I talk to about with my team is like more of the stuff of like Daniel G, how he talks about that. So part of what I'm trying to get out of the event, and obviously, talk to Neil about it as well, but it's just kind of figuring out a way of like, all right, can I incorporate that stuff or am I completely off brand with it? But it's not off brand to me because it's authentic. But, if I'm a home buyer and I'm looking at this and Mike's talking about homes and then he's talking about, the number one sales mistake, does that confuse my audience? But it's a message that I want to get out there.
Yeah. So you're trying to figure out if it goes with your brand and what you're trying to do with your social media, right?
Yeah.
I get that. Mine is my social media is a coach and a speaker, right? So like that fits into what I'm doing. I find myself going to an event saying, okay, I want to meet these people. I want to do this and that. But then I always find myself walking away with a speaker that I would have never thought would have hit for me. Ever. I'm like, oh my God, that's it. That's the one. Like most recently, Clinton Sparks. I was at an event, AmpCon last year, and Clinton was the guy on stage. And I'm like, that's it, dude. That's my one. Like I had my one. He was the first guy up. So it was like, I had my one, and Clinton and I have a great relationship. Like I talk to him all the time. Like I won Jordan him and we've built a great friendship from it. So were you at AmpCon last year?
I was, yeah. That we were. Remember, was that the first mastermind we met at? Because the
No, I wasn't
mastermind
at
was
that
right
mastermind. I
after.
wasn't in his mastermind then because
Oh, you
my wife
weren't?
was pregnant, so I was not traveling
Oh,
as
yeah,
much.
yeah. But you spoke.
He pulled me out of the crowd
Yeah,
and put
yeah.
me on
He
stage.
put
Yeah,
you on stage. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I was there.
yeah. That was unexpected, man. I had no
That was
idea.
incredible, man. That was incredible.
I had no idea, but I asked for it, so there you go. I had asked for it like 6 months beforehand. I was like, "Hey, man, we're gonna do it on the stage at AmCon," but he had me prepared. I mean, I prepare all the time for speaking. You know, like
Right.
I will message Neil. I message Neil all the time because I try to get on stage at Forward. I'm like, dude, let's just do a 15-minute about how I won Jordan Jew and that strategy. Just 15 minutes. Let's do it. We're already full. We're this or that. Great. So I constantly DM and text with him and stuff. And next week after 4th of July, I'll hit him up. I'll say, hey, look, just so you know, I'll be at Forward. I'll be in the front row because I bought the VIP ticket. And if someone bails, I'm ready in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you know, I'm ready. I got my walkout music on my phone. Like I can text it to you, whatever we need to do, and we can put Chris up there.
The voicemail you played me?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The one with John Maxwell. Yeah, I actually sent that to Neil the other day.
Did you?
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, so I try to be prepared for those events, and you just never know when your opportunity is going to be there, right? I have a feeling you do the same thing for people you're trying to do business with in the mortgage space, in the realtors. Like it's okay if you're not doing business with me right now, but I'm here if something blows up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, what's that look like? Do you have any success stories, relationships that were built off of second chances?
A lot, man. I think going in there without that desperation cologne, right? And just saying like, listen,
That's a good one. I've never heard that desperation cologne, but that's
yeah,
good.
desperation cologne. It's like, and I think I built a reputation, not from again, no ego at all. But I've also made it clear to the real estate community that I don't want to work with realtors that have egos, or not just anybody that other centers of influence. So I think I've been able to, over the years, become very intentional about who I work with, and a lot of that, especially now with social, man, it's been allowing us to drip on them before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go to the mirror thing, kind of be seen before you're known, liked, and trusted. But every realtor that I have a relationship with now already had an existing lender relationship. And I think when you're the type of lender that even checks up on people when there's no transactions going on, making sure that they're okay in their personal life. I think people don't forget that because it's authentic. And you build these lifelong relationships. Like years ago when somebody told me like, yeah, you go on vacations with your realtors. I'm like, I would never do that. But that was how blind I was to the power of relationships. Now I'm like, I'm calling all my top realtors like, hey, you got to be at Forward with me, right? And everybody's trying to figure out ways to go, inviting their spouses or significant others and things like that. So yeah, definitely a lot of them off of second chances. I know sometimes I'm not going to get it right away, but I know that I'm not going anywhere. And in all reality, I mean, right now, you said it, with the exit that's going on in the industry, a lot of people have lost their lender.
Yes,
and they're like, Mike is still showing up every single day. That means something must be going okay over there. So yeah, how about you? Are you seeing that with a lot of your clients that you coach?
Definitely. I definitely see it with the clients I coach. But I'm also seeing it on the people I'm trying to attract into my coaching community, my group coaching or my one-on-one. I have this app called Reach, and
love Reach.
And I send out, I think I'm in the 40s right now, the number of texts that go out in the first thing in the morning. They all get the same text message, but it's all personalized from me. And the number of people that have reached back out and go, man, I'm ready to talk to you now. I'm ready to talk now. Or, man, thank you so much. Dude, I needed that today, man. Can we hop on a call? Right? And I constantly, every day, it's there, right? They get it. They understand it. And they'll repeat it back to me. The time, because I always put the time is now. That's one of the taglines. The time is now. We're in this together. The time is now, right? And people, you don't realize those little things that make a difference when it comes time for someone to make a decision, to make a commitment, right? And here's one of the things that I enjoyed doing that has helped me build relationships for a long time. If you have a baby, if there's some type of unfortunate death in your family, or anything that's, your husband had a heart attack, I had a client, husband had a heart attack. I'm going to send you food. I'm going to find out when's the next time I can buy a meal for you and your family. Right? That's how I show love. That's how we show love in my family, is eating. Like, I have a big family meal with my wife's family. She's from a big Catholic family too. We have a big meal at 5:00 today. So like, that's how we show love, is by breaking bread and doing that. So I will send a nice meal to somebody, right? Like, I have a client, they just had a baby. So what I do, what's your favorite restaurant? He's up in Columbus, Ohio. Like, let's do this. Boom, send him food, right? It's not very expensive, but it's very thoughtful. It's very thoughtful. No one asked me to do it. They didn't send me something and say, hey, would you feed us? No, man. I go above and beyond with little things like that. And then if it comes time where they want to be coached, or they're thinking about not being coached by you anymore, those are the relationship things they think about. Did he think about me in my dark times? Did he think about me when things were challenging, or it was an amazing day, we had a baby? Like, everybody knows that now. Everybody knows I'm the dinner guy, right? Nikki and I and my wife does the same. My wife does the same for, she had one of her nurses that works for her, their house burnt down. I was out of town, and she's like, hey, can you get on the Uber Eats and send them a bunch of food to the hotel? And it's not about trying to get, like, I don't post it on Instagram. Hey, look, man, I sent steaks. Right. Like, that's not what it's for. And I don't really share this very often, but I think it's important for people to understand that in this time that we're in right now, sending someone some pizzas could just make their day a little bit better, man. A little bit better. You know what I mean? So
I love that.
That's the big deal for me. I'm one of those guys that, like, I do not like to receive anything. Like, I'm not, like, people buy me stuff. I'm like, I
get it.
The first thing is because I buy everything I want myself. I'm really bad about that. As you can tell, if you see on behind me, if you're watching this, there's tons of shoes here. This box here is stacked on several other boxes of Jordans. There's a closet full of Jordans over there. And I was literally online before I got on with you going, okay, I'm going to wear this brown and blue sport coat one day at Forward. I don't have any brown and blue J's. So I bought some brown and blue J's that they're going to get here in time for that. And then the orange ones right there that are at the top, I'm wearing those on one of the days. I got an orange t-shirt that matches in a sport coat that's got orange stripes in it. So I do go overboard when it comes to the shoe aspect of things, but, man, the world needs more people like you in it, Mike. You care about your clients. You care about the people around you. You light up a room. Those of you who haven't met him yet, if you're in a room with him, dude, he brings the energy. And you put me and you and Amir in a room, nobody's got a chance, bro. It's like, it's just like, if Mo shows up, then there's no, like, it's not like we should cancel the meeting, because nothing's going to get done if all four of us are in the room. Three of us is kind of the tipping point, right? Am I right though? Like,
you are right.
Because we were in Miami.
Oh, for sure, we're done.
We were in Miami, and we were all there, and like a lot of people wrote notes, I think, and said, "Please, you can't do like all these guys like this." But it's a big deal. So I'm just curious. We'll finish on this. What has been your biggest takeaway the biggest thing you've learned from being in this Amplify Mastermind?
That's a very good question, because there's a lot. I think the biggest thing for me was, and I know Renee said it for years, you've said it, for years, but the biggest thing for me, it needed to be drilled into my head, is that, and to the point of how powerful your story is. For those of you guys that haven't heard it, just grab the tissues, and I don't care if you're a grown man, Chris will make you cry. He did it to me and Amir. But I think the biggest thing was just knowing that adversity is truly our biggest currency.
Mhm.
And it's so everybody's. And sometimes I have to take a breath and say, all right, I'm going through an extremely hard time, but it's because I need it, right? God put this in my way because it's preparing me for something bigger. Not why me, not this. And when you're in a room with 20 other people that are that way, and sometimes have been through things that I can't even imagine and make my problems look small, it really humbled me and said, bro, you better never complain again, and really turn all of your adversity, tap into that Pandora's box, turn that adversity into my superpower.
Yeah,
Like you.
I love that. I love that. I mean, it's been Renee's helped me tell my story, and you know how I feel about adversity. I had a whole summit, Strength to Adversity Summit, right? Like I had some of the top speakers in the world speak for free for me because we won Jordan-dom, and we were able to impact a lot of people's lives with those messages. So you're right. Adversity is something that we're just going to have to go through. I heard Gary Vee say something about adversity the other day. I was listening to him. I'm excited to see Gary.
Yeah.
I've seen him a couple of times. I lost track of Gary for a few years, honestly. Just went in a different direction. You feel like you get enough of somebody, and I just felt like I was there. But I will be at the VIP lunch with Gary Vee, and I will get his shoe size.
There you go.
I will be.
And
Jordan.
he likes Jordan, so you'll be good on that.
One Jordan and Gary Vee. That's going to happen. I've been trying to get his shoe size for like a year, so now I'm in person and I'm going to get it.
I'll go snag one of his shoes. Don't worry. I got you.
I'll ask him. He'll tell me. And then Trent Shelton, who's one of the speakers. I don't know if you've ever seen him speak or not, but I got to work out with Trent back in April in St. Louis. Wow. The event I was at with Ben. We all got together one morning and worked out. And I sent this Jordan to Trent. He's got one. He hasn't responded yet. His team knows the team says he has it and stuff, and he knows who I am because we met. So
right.
I'll be bringing this with me to Vegas, and I will be confronting Trent in Vegas to give him the other shoe. So
now I need that on videotape. Well, I'm gonna walk behind you, and that'll be a great clip.
He's gonna be with me. So he.
Oh, there you go.
So he's gonna capture that hopefully. I did email Trent's team today, and I said, hey, I know he's busy. I respect that. Just so you know, I'm going to be in Vegas when he's at the event, the Ford event. Let him know I'm going to bring the other shoe. So,
I love it. Quick question for you. I know we want to wrap, but I do. I'm just so fascinated. I love this one Jordan concept. What, like I've seen Brunson do the potato gun to Tony Robbins, but like this is so specific and like thoughtful. Like what? How'd you come up with this?
I heard it. I heard Brad Lee say it.
Oh yeah.
Brad Lee said it on a reel one time. I was like, man, send one Jordan shoe. I'm like, that's right up my alley. I love Jordans, right? So I just took it and ran with it. Damon West was my first person I ever sent a shoe to, right? So I sent a shoe to Damon West. It takes off. And then last May when I'm down in Miami, was it last May? No, May. So a year ago, May, I was in Miami at my third Amplify with Renee. And I said, hey, man, I wrote this book. Would you write the forward for it? He's like, yeah. What is it? I said, it's called One Jordan. He goes, what's it about? And I told him. He goes, where'd you hear that at? I said, well, Brad Lee posted about it. He goes, I was the guy sitting on the other side of the desk telling Brad Lee what to post. He goes, I'm the one that came up with it. I said, well, I'm going to write that in the book then. That you came up with it, but none of them ever did it. I was the first person to execute, and I hope tons of other people do it. Like I want people to do it. I have people mess with me all the time. Oh, I don't know, man. Send them one shoe. I'm like, then don't do it. I don't care. Like, but it works. Like, I mean, the circles I have gotten into and I have friendships with now because of one Jordan. Like. You're going to get to meet one of the guys at AmpCon in August. You're going to AmpCon, right?
Yeah.
So Coach Michael Burt. I don't know if you've ever seen him speak before. But Mike, he's in the book. He's one of my guys. I won Jordan him, and him and I have a great relationship. So you know, and I wasn't on the video, on the recording yesterday with the Forward event. I was doing some stuff, but one of my guys, coach, was on there. And he's like, hey, man, Neil's on there talking about the one Jordan guy right now. So apparently they'd asked him about it or whatever. But yeah, but anyway. So, well, cool, brother. Thanks for coming on here, man.
Likewise.
Yep. You know, I appreciate you, man. And I can't wait to see what we do next with our relationship. Thank you for tuning into the One Hand at a Time podcast. Please make sure you like and share the episode. And we'll see you next time here at the One Hand at a Time podcast. Make it a great day.